This channel is only possible thanks to direct contributions from viewers like Kronos, Ryan Nelson, Argus, Bleed Red, Christopher Welch, and you. If you'd like to contribute to making more videos like this possible, you can do so for as little as $1 a month on Patreon, or by buying a t-shirt at the merch store. Thanks a bunch, and I hope you enjoy the show. Homestuck's symbopoetic fantasy power-granting hero title system is simple and elegant, but it also hides nearly infinite depth for those who go looking for ways to create it. Metaphysical and philosophical by design, its 12 aspects in particular are said to describe and make up literally everything in the paradox-based universe. Not all the aspects are easy to understand though, and in this respect, hope may well be the most challenging. Homestuck's presentation of the aspect deliberately subverts the ideas of hope found in more traditional fantasy. This isn't Digimon's TK using his crest to save the day during each arc's darkest hour. The heroes of hope aren't generally all that heroic, in fact, but that makes more sense once you consider what exactly hope implies. Any given aspect's name could be thought of as the root of a word map, with the aspect itself existing as a nebulous domain of symbolic power that rules over all the ideas it helps define. I wouldn't be surprised if right now you were wondering what the hell I'm talking about, so let me try and explain what I mean. One of the most consistent ideas that shows up in association with the hope bound is that of intense desires, or in other words, the feeling of want. For example, the Amporas, two destroyer-class heroes of hope, are aggressively obsessed with their desires to be in romantic relationships. It doesn't seem to matter who in particular the relationship is with, or if the person actually feels comfortable and happy with them, though. They just want to be wanted by somebody. Anybody. To hope for something is, by definition, to want it. It is to yearn for that which you currently lack. And our culture, at least, tends to believe that there's nothing people want more passionately than love, particularly in the context of romance. The fantasy of quote-unquote true love is a kind of cultural keystone we all define relationships with, by, or against. Both our own relationships and those of other people, whether we're consciously aware we're doing it or not. But we might find a more specific name for what Eridan and Kronos are looking for within the text of Homestuck itself. It might be said that what they want is the twinkle of devotion in the eye of their beloved. Devotion is defined as religious worship, such as prayer, thus connecting it directly to the ideas of faith and belief that hope presides over. But it can also be defined as love, loyalty, or enthusiasm for a person, activity, or cause. Both definitions are threaded through Hopebound's tales. As destroyers, the Amporas destroy any hope of reciprocation through their very needy devotion to the subject, thus destroying hope through hope, which is as tragic as it is hilarious. Jake English has the opposite problem, inspiring devotion from all his friends but struggling to deal with the intensity of their feelings afterwards. The Emperors are also firm believers in the hemospectrum, the ruling ideology of Alternia, which tells them they are, by virtue of high social standing and a possibly bioengineered longer lifespan, somehow inherently better than all their friends. Notably, Eridan is even more loyal to the idea of the hemospectrum than he is to Feferi herself, refusing to listen to her serious objections about the system despite the fact that she's his direct superior in breed and class, and the rightful leader of all troll kind, according to the very system he supposedly believes in. Not to mention, she's also his real flesh and blood friend, and supposedly someone he's in love with. None of that makes her worth considering when it comes to a deep philosophical disagreement that involves people's lives in Eridan's view, though. I'm not actually trying to dunk on Eridan here, though. What I'm trying to point out is that Eridan is deeply self-contradictory, and wants so much from his reality that his very desires sabotage each other. There's a word for Eridan's state of mind. He's delusional. Delusion is another idea deeply connected to hope, as an idiosyncratic belief that is firmly maintained despite being contradicted by what is generally accepted as reality or rational argument. In other words, it's a mindset centered on ideas that have nothing to do with reality, but which the thinker is obsessed with holding on to anyway. It's an inherently broken and ineffective way of engaging with the world, because it stops you from seeing reality as reasonable and sensible people see it. And in his case, the root of that delusion is rooted in the deliberate lie he was told by society, through systemic propaganda spread across Alternia by deeply malicious and incredibly powerful adults, specifically to screw up young kids like him and groom them into being the sorts of people that are comfortable upholding Alternia's incredibly violent and cruel status quo. This isn't actually too dissimilar from ways the internet radicalizes young white men into committing mass shootings or joining neo-Nazi movements, channeling their disaffected alienation from late capitalist society into blaming women and minorities for their problems instead of, the crony capitalists who benefit from keeping us all fighting each other instead of paying attention to them. There's a real-world problem Eridan's character exists to highlight, is what I'm getting at, which is part of what makes him valuable to me, and is also part of why I kind of want to be able to imagine how someone like Eridan could change for the better and learn to live peacefully with his friends, instead of making up enemies to destroy himself against. Part of him obviously seems to want to, after all, and he chooses to do the right thing in many timelines, banding together with his friends against the story's true villain in Collide and X7. So, it's worth thinking about how somebody like Eridan could decide to do the right thing in the end, even after doing awful things when he was alive in the Alpha timeline. So the ghost versions of him in the Void aren't character development exactly, but they're the promise that character development is possible, that there's hope for him. I want to talk more about the nature of devotion and delusion, and how they can warp people's perspectives into states where they might behave in ways that seem totally amoral, but that's gonna have to wait until another video. For now, I hope you enjoyed this brief exploration of Eridan, the Amporas in general, and the nature of the hope aspect as I think about it. Hopefully we'll get the chance to revisit the subject soon enough. Until then, keep rising. Huge thanks go out to my patrons for making this video possible. If you want to help support the channel and come join us at our awesome and growing Discord community, feel free to join us for as little as $1 a month. You can also find me on the r/Hiveswap Reddit and Discord. That's all for now, so thank you again, and as always, keep rising.